Is this for like a standby only?
All Swift standards.
How about Joanna and Candy? Were they invited?
We have invited all the managers. You can invite them.
Good morning.
We already have Frank on the line.
Maybe should have been invited.
Good morning, Frank. This is Danny.
Hey, Danny, good morning. How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful.
I see a lot of people have joined. And it's going to give a couple more minutes because we want to make sure that as many people can get on as possible.
Hi, Alan. Are you joining the Swift 2020 webinar? You and Edward both are invited. Yes. Okay, no worries. Okay, bye. Yeah, but we are joining from the boardroom. You should have the invite. 7th floor? Okay. 7th floor boardroom, just behind the reception. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, this
Linda.
is Linda.
Hello.
Hi,
Linda,
this is Mona. Hey, John.
Yeah. What we request is when you join, if you can put yourselves on mute, especially if there's feedback sound.
Hello.
There has to be a way to mute. No, I told you no. It's strange.
Hello?
Hello. Hello, this
Hello?
is Jing Yu. Hello, this is
Hello?
Jing Yu.
This is Maria.
Okay, we're going to start in about 30, 60 seconds. And please put yourselves on mute. I just want to say if I end up going a little too fast at some point, just you can ask me to slow down a little bit.
Hi, this is Helen from App Support.
Hello?
This is Helen Kwok from App Support.
Hey, Helen, how are you
Hi,
doing?
Helen. This is Pallavi.
Hi.
Okay, we're going to start now. Okay. So please put yourselves on mute. So that way we don't have any feedback or background noises occurring during this webinar. We are recording this, so this way we'll be able to share it. So if you happen to miss something.
Sorry, Frank, I don't watch it to the screen.
I'm sorry?
I don't watch it to the screen.
You can't see the screen?
Say, yes.
That is correct.
Okay, so I don't know how to help you on that. Gabe, can you see the screen?
Hey, Frank, Kailash here. I'm able to see the screen at my end. Who is it that who's not able to see the screen?
Okay. Well, in any case, we're going to start now, and like I said, we'll share this presentation, both the slide deck and the recording of the webinar itself, with everybody. So if people don't see everything, don't hear everything, they'll be able to review it. Okay. Here's the agenda. We're going to have the high-level recap of the 2020 changes, just to put things in perspective. We're going to high-level review of the 6.0 changes themselves and the kinds of things that you need to consider. We'll get more into that momentarily. Then we'll do a demo of some of the new features to give you a good taste of the complexities that have been added to IBSnet due to the 2020 changes. And then at the end, we'll come back and take a look at the review of the implementation packages. Regarding any questions you may have, we welcome the questions, not necessarily during the webinar. We will please send them to me and by email or ticket. And what we will do is we will consolidate all the questions and provide the answers back to all the teams. The main purpose of this...
Frank, end of the meeting, would you be able to send this presentation to us so that we can circulate it internally within the rest of the IT teams here with whom we would work?
Yes, we will provide, as I said, a copy of the webinar itself and the presentation. Okay? One of the main purposes of this webinar is to give you a solid education on what the SR 2020 changes in IBSnet will mean to you in terms of preparation for this year. There are a lot of changes, and we'll get into them. And we just want you to have a clear picture to know, get as many facts to define the proper scope for your project for the year. Now, this is just a quick review of the changes at a high level. First of all, the term or code standby has been removed from fields 40A and 40B. What this means is you no longer can use 700, 707, 710, 720, and 730 with standby letters of credit. Okay? Changes, additionally, there's new structures, fields, cross-message changes, new character set, which was introduced for 2018. It's now part of 2020, so the changes for these new messages and the change messages for guarantees, standbys, have a character set Z. There's massive changes to the existing messages, 760, 767, 68, 69. And with the 760, 67, really the major change, and a lot more structured, and we will see that both in screen and the resulting output. Then we have new messages being added, 761 and 775, or just the continuation pages for 760, issuance and 767 amendment. And then you have additional messages added, 765, 785, 786, and 787. At a high level, these are the types of changes that have made IBSnet to address the changes from Swift. First of all, we're having new screens, fields, and validations. And it's just not new stuff, it's also we've had some new ways of doing things to try to make it a little bit easier for the users to get through the screens and the fields to make appropriate message output. We've also changed existing screens and functionality, and obviously we'll see some of that. And we made some changes in the technical configuration, INI files, which handles the incoming Swift and other features. Templates are huge changes. First of all, there's new templates for the new message types. Okay, so we have our own sample template database. We have changes to existing Swift templates. We'll have a comparison of a 760, old and new, shortly. And of course, consideration of non-Swift templates also need to be adjusted to accommodate the changes in the guarantee module to support standbys and guarantees for the new messages, as well as just moving things over to from standbys to guarantees. Compliance and certification for third-party software. I'm not going to go through all of it, but some of the key elements. On the left side, Microsoft Windows 2016 Enterprise Server. Database server software, 2016 and 2017, as well as Oracle 10G and Oracle 11G. And in terms of user workstation, Windows 10 operating system. This is what has been certified. You must be using that. If you're not going to be able to use, please contact Surecomp for any certification. Network, standard product supports flat network with Windows client server architecture, and the application framework is now Power Builder 2017. Previously is 12.6.
Hey, this is Peter. Can I just stop you there for 1 second, if you don't mind? So I just want to verify the fact that, so you're saying that unless the clients are using Windows 10, we cannot utilize the new software being implemented.
Well, Peter, what you can do is provide this question, and we'll provide the responses to everyone.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
And this will give you time to think of some additional questions you may have.
Sure.
Now, the modules that are modified, or not modified as the case may be. Guarantee modules, major screen and functionality changes to support counter guarantee and local guarantee processing. We'll see what that means in the demo. And also we added auto extension processing to the guarantee module, as standbys can have auto extension. Bill processing, specifically guarantee claims to handle the new message types. The correspondence module had a small change to support these new message types as well. And but to make it clear, there has been no changes to standby modules and related processing for SR 2020. All the changes are in the guarantee module and related functions. High-level view of the types of configurations and changes you need to think about. First of all, how do I want to handle the existing standby portfolio? If you're handling some of these by Swift and you want to continue to handle them by Swift, you need to consider moving them over to the guarantee module if you want to use the 760, 67, and the other message types. And also, in terms of if you are going to move all or some of the processing of standbys itself for new transactions, in addition to any old existing transactions, you need to think about fee table, liability table changes, configurations, obviously, to add to the guarantee module, Swift templates to be adjusted or added, new Swift template, non-Swift template changes. This is big. So if you have a series of documents that you generate, site configurable fields, I'm sorry, it's old template types, and subtypes. So if you have two site subtypes in standby today, in your standby world for, let's say, financial and performance, you'll need to add that to the guarantee. Site configurable fields, those need to be moved from standby to the guarantee. Screens, potential workflow and procedure changes, integration with front-end solutions. You have to consider any changes to that if you're handling standbys from a front end today. Consider interfaces and reports that need to take into account using the guarantee processing. and any other things that you need to be able to come up with yourself. Banks need to determine this as well. This is just to give you some guidance. In terms of the types of template, because this is a big thing, besides the Swift, which of course includes 760, 767, and in terms of those being changed in 765 and other templates, you also have all these different types of templates, and you as individual users of the system will have a better understanding in your world of what you need to change. But if you're going to be moving to the guarantee module for some of the standby processing, you may have to have these templates added or adjusted to accommodate processing from guarantees themselves. For example, some may have letter formats of the Swift messages. You may have debit credit devices or invoices that need to bring in guarantee information besides any debits and credits values. Cover letters, letter formats of standby LC advices, internal forms such as vouchers and worksheets, cancellation notifications, auto extension related devices and notifications, tracers, etc. Anything else, again, you guys will have to determine what do you use today in standby, and if you go to guarantees, how do you want to add those to your processing. So it's a lot of planning involved and then execution. Now, just want to show you an example of the complexity that has been added based upon the Swift changes. What we have displayed is the IBSnet 5.6 MT760 template. Fairly straightforward. It can be shown on one screenshot. For IBSnet 6.0, okay, not working well. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. We can see there are several screenshots needed to present the functionality to incorporate all the values and combinations of values that can be from the screens, which we will see shortly. Now, again, as I said when we kicked this off, there's a lot of preparation needed in planning and understanding. 2018, although that was an extensive project, a lot of those changes were related to things that already existed. For example, pretty straightforward, we made the 707 look like a 700. So we know what a 700 does, and we just made the 707 and the related screens work accordingly. With 2020, the impact is much greater. There's new types of fields that have been added to Swift, and therefore we had to add these new types of fields with related functionality to our application. So it was a lot more work involved from our side, and that may be a lot more work, or there should be a lot more work on your side to understand how it works and how you are going to use it. And there's a possibility that you may have to adjust how you do your work based upon Swift 2020 and the changes in IBSnet. So to do this, you really need to become well-versed in 2020. You need to evaluate, and it's a good time to look at how you do things today with a big project like this, and to understand what the to-be processes will be. Maybe they won't change a lot, maybe they will. There's a lot of training involved, so you got to make sure the teams are well-versed. I know in some cases that we had seen some users, when we visited some clients, that were not aware of the 2018 changes, and they were replicating tasks that they no longer needed to replicate. For example, with certain character types that are now acceptable in the Z character set. So clearly, you got to make sure that the people in the project and the users are well versed in SR 2020 and IBSnet. Plan and start yesterday. Some clients have been planning and had started this in the recent past, but it's really key to really get on board now and be prepared, and to understand what you will need to do, and to see if you have to make a lot of changes or not. And you want to maybe plan for a long user acceptance test cycle, because of all the changes involved, both from a Swift point of view, possibly how you process, and how you use IBSnet. Okay, now let's break for the demo from the slides. first thing I want to show you is just, and it's a little awkward because its screens are a little small here, is to show you on the left side is the old screen for guarantees. And if I scroll down, you see right side, I'm sorry, the right side of the screen. Fairly straightforward. You have your amounts, you have your parties, you have your text. And that's the big difference with 2020 in general with Swift. The 760 and 760 was a few small fields with huge text field. Now it's several big text fields. Okay, and if I go over to the screen, let's give it a second here, adjusting, and you can see the screen is much larger. And additionally, we have additional screen for capturing local guarantee information, and which we'll get to in a moment. Okay, just wanted to compare. It's a very simple, straightforward screen, correlates with the 760 template we showed you. Now we have this much bigger data screen, and actually two of them to capture 760 information. What I'll do now is move to create a new transaction. Okay. First of all, I'm just going to scroll through the whole screen, then I'll go through more slowly. As you can see, there's quite a few fields: amount, date information, parties, and other types of details. Again, we'll go through all of it just to give you a solid understanding. And then you have some big text fields. You can see we've added some buttons here for local guarantee window and for counter guarantee window. The counter guarantee window we will see during incoming guarantee based upon incoming Swift. Okay, so one of the key elements in Swift, and therefore this application, is the purpose of the message. Why am I sending this 760? ISSU means I'm simply just issuing the guarantee and sending it to an advising bank possibly, or a series of advising banks. ISCO and ICCO, in this case we'll use ISCO for an example, that means I am issuing a guarantee in favor of the recipient, and we're requesting them to issue their local guarantee, which means this main screen here will be the counter guarantee information, and the local guarantee screen will, of course, cover the information for the local guarantee. What banks do today in general is that whether they use a 760, 799, or 700, is they will embed the local guarantee text within the text of the counter guarantee text, and say, please open it as follows. This is now changed to be segregated into specific sections of the Swift message, and therefore separate sections on these screens that we will look at now. So first I'll just start with, we're just going to issue a guarantee or standby. Here we have some further identification. This is left, we're not using this for this product application now, but it's left there for anybody who would use the guarantee module and is using this information in the past. We have our applicable rules, and same behavior as you have during commercial LCs. You get another field and you have other. Okay. Then further undertaking. You define whether it's going to be a guarantee or standby that you are issuing here. If it's standby, you get confirmation field. If you are just doing a guarantee, you do not get that. Also, if I happen to be doing a counter guarantee, I can also not have a confirmation. Okay, that's just to illustrate some of the changes in the dynamic behavior of the various fields on the screen. That's why it's key to have a good understanding of the behavior of the system, so that way you can plan your UAT and how are you going to use the system. Okay, if we have confirmation and we say without, that's fine. If I say confirm, I now have a requested confirmation party. Okay, if I make it without, requested confirmation party is now off the screen. Similar to what we have in standbys and commercial LCs today. Okay, the amount is pretty straightforward. You have provisional amount functionality. You have additional amounts information. There is no tolerance fields in Swift on the 760. So if you were to need to enter that kind of information, you would enter it here. Then you have your dates. You have expiry date, expiry place. That's not in Swift, but again, this is a field that was there before. We don't want to take it away for anybody that already has guarantees set up in the guarantee module. Expiry type, an additional function. This is mandatory, as you know, when it is yellow. And when I do conditional, expiry condition is now a required field. If I change it to fixed, expiry date now becomes mandatory, and expiry condition is no longer needed. And if I have open, which means no expiry date, that happens often in guarantees, I can't even enter an expiry date. But if I had it conditional, I can add an expiry date. Okay, so now let's look at some of the parties. Applicant beneficiary, nothing new there. We have advising bank and advise through bank. We have obligor instructing party, which is the equivalent of the account party. And we also have drawee information. Okay. So for applicant, we'll simply choose the party. For beneficiary, I'll also enter party from the database. I will make it a bank in this case because I will be issuing a counter guarantee with a local guarantee text in a moment. Okay. Now down here we have additional fields, demand indicator, optional, governing law, and you can add text to it if you want to have governing law. Further identification, this is a 23X. Again, it's an optional field, but it becomes mandatory if you choose a code and have text. Again, this field is available in already in 5.6 because we added it for field message 759, for example. Deliver by, and these are different codes representing how the instrument is to be delivered to the beneficiary by the receiving bank. And it's dynamic because then when you have courier, then you have the optional text field. Deliver to, if you want to add, you can say deliver to the beneficiary, or you could have deliver to other, and then this becomes mandatory. Transfer indicator, transfer conditions, charges field, document and presentation instructions. Again, you can see that this is much larger than a simple huge text field. And then you have undertaking terms and conditions and underlying transaction details. Now, I just want to put in some, bear with me a moment. I'm going to get a large piece of text to put into the screen. And Now, what we've been entering in the screen so far is information that goes into what's called sequence A, which is the basic header of the message, and then sequence B, which contains the guarantee information or the counter guarantee information. Okay. Now, if we want to be able to issue our counter guarantee, then I need to choose, let's go for example. So this now becomes my counter guarantee, and this is now available. It becomes blue. And you see that in some cases that fields are protected because deliver, by, and deliver to fields are not needed in sequence B, which is the counter guarantee, when you have ISCO, as per Swift. Okay, I can jump to the other screen now, and I'll scroll through this quickly, and then I'll go back through all the information. Okay, it can have its own applicable rules. Type of undertaking, form of undertaking, the amount. And it could be a different amount. Additional amounts covered. Expiry type can also be conditional. Again, some of these fields Swift is not validating between the B and C sequences, so we are not necessarily. We have auto extension. This is the auto extension for the local guarantee. For the counter guarantee in this case, auto extension information is here. Let me go back to the local guarantee. And to have auto extension, I need to have expiration date. If I didn't have expiration date, this button would not be active. Okay. And these are the codes associated that are officially in Swift messages, your notification period, and additional text about extension, non-extension notification. Okay. Okay, you have your applicant information. Then you could have your issuer. So the issuer of the local. And local beneficiary. You can see the similar fields, pretty much the same types of fields on both screens, as sequence B and sequence C are fairly similar. I can tell them to deliver by courier and deliver to transfer indicator, transfer conditions, and charges. Expiry condition event is mandatory. I'll just make this fixed. You also have different additional values in the local guarantee only, or standard wording, and requested language. Again, this is the official ISO codes for language of the world. And you can have governing law, okay. So you can see there's two screens to capture all the information if you're going to be using, you'll be issuing a counter guarantee or requesting someone issue a local guarantee. Okay, now save. I will now do generate a Swift message. And copies are sent here as well as to the Swift folder. And this is the first page. So the header information here, and then you have the counter guarantee information here. And 77U, which is the counter guarantee text details. And then you have additional information. This is the count. This is the local guarantee information. And I'll just reduce this, and then I'll open up the second. And now this is the detailed text of the local guarantee. So it's split it so that way to make sure it's under 10K per page. 761. Okay. I'll proceed to release this. Okay, that was issuance. Now let's go to amendment. The amendment message, although it's much more structured, 767 now than it was before, it doesn't have as many fields as the issuance message, the 760. So as 760 message is so huge, and we didn't want to add an extensive scrolling screen, that's why we split it between two screens, creating that new screen with the local guarantee information. With the amendment, we were able to fit it all into one page so we don't have to have additional screens. Let me just scroll through this. So I'll go back up a little bit. Local guarantee information on the bottom. And the main guarantee or counter guarantee information on the top. The bottom, although displayed, is not accessible when the purpose of message code that you define at issuance is ISSU. Okay, so we have consent processing, nothing new there. Cancel request, we'll talk about that momentarily. We have increase, decrease, standard, new expiry date, new expiry type, new expiry conditions, be able to change the beneficiary. I can't do anything with the deliver to or deliver of information, the deliver to information. Again, like at issuance, the fields are protected because you define that at the local guarantee issuance or amendment level, and I can't access these equivalent fields here. Let me just scroll back up a little bit. So you see the local guarantee screen is the section is mostly the same. You have your amount change, you have your dates, expiry type. Like I said, you have this information. So let's go through and enter some information. So let's say I want to increase. And if I want to define new expiry date, And if I want to scroll down a little more, the sender. And then I have increase down here as well, or decrease. I can increase one and decrease the other, so it doesn't have to be in sync. Expiry dates can be different. I'll make it the same because it's easier for me. And now, I just want to show you something so you're aware of it now, but it will be in the documentation. When a cancel request, we want to clear all the fields because when you're doing an amendment to requesting cancellation, there's no other terms and conditions needing to be changed. If I click yes here, I'll clear it out. I won't, but it will clear out all the fields. I'll just simply say no at this time. So just be aware of that, okay? In this game, it was a very simple amendment, mainly dates with a little bit of text. If it was an extensive text like we had for the issuance, it would break it into one or more, two or more pages, which will be 775 on additional pages. But this is only one of one. This is 15. Again, it's the general part of the message. 15B is what I'm changing in the local. In the counter guarantee, counter standby section, and here's for the local guarantee. Okay. Now, I'll just simply save and close on this one. Now I want to move on to outgoing correspondence. Just to give you an idea what has been changed. Okay, originally for 2018 we added 759. The generation outward and inward is 759. Has a lot of additional fields. Okay. The only thing we did for 2020 is this file identification was associated with 759 only. Now we made it display because it is now available on some of the other messages. So some of the messages, the new messages we added, or Swift added, that we added functionality for, can be generated from outgoing correspondence. And of course, incoming, the equivalent message incoming will be going into incoming correspondence. So we just want to make sure that this field is available. So let me define, show you a quick message. In this case, I'm just going to show you 785. So I'll just do preview mode because this will only be a simple message. 785, reference number from is the issuing bank, transaction, beneficiary information, and some of the text. Okay? Now, so we've seen the issuance screen, 760, 761 out. We've looked at the amendment, 767 out, looking at the new screen there. Outgoing correspondence is a small adjustment now. Let's go to claims. So this one is representing, I have received into IBSnet, incoming SWIFT, the 765, which is a claim, a demand. And then I want to respond to it. I have one already loaded. Okay, so let's go look at the message. So this is the 765. The information. And it populates. Now let's keep this open. So for outgoing, incoming claims linked to guarantees, we made significant changes. This is now a scrolling screen to accommodate all the fields that are associated with the 765, and of course having validations associated with that as well. Data demand, requested expiry date. The amount, of course, is fine. We have all the additional parties that can be in the 765, as well as some of the parties that were there before. Added beneficiary reference number, because that's what comes in. We also have demand statement, which means incomplete or complete. You should be filling out this field, or incoming will fill it out for you. Demand type, pay or extend, or just payment. Additional amount information. File identification, this should be coming in, of course, in the SWIFT message, and presentation completion details. We have sender receiver information, and we have additional information that can be used on outgoing messages. So for the sake of this, we'll simply just say we want to generate 786 out, which is a refusal. Okay, fairly straightforward. 786 information. Okay, and that is that message type. So there we saw a new screen representing handled 765 in. Outgoing claims under guarantees. That's where you would generate the 765 out, and then you also support 786 as well as some other message types going out of the claims functionality. Now let us look at IG issuance, which is based upon an incoming 760 and or 761 messages. I had one loaded. This is the message that came in, or messages. See, it's 2 pages. This is one of 2. This is the 760. This will cover. The 760 will always have the sequence A, sequence B, and sequence C information. The only thing that will be on the subsequent pages would be the additional large amounts of text. We'll see that momentarily. Okay. In this case, I made it a simple message, so I said 77U. And 77L, those are text fields. And then on the second page, second message here, this is 2 of 2. 61. And I just had an additional one line of each. Of course, normally this would be split into large text box, but this is just to illustrate how we will merge the information. As you would in a 700 or a 710 coming in, you will take all the large text fields and merge them together. The same thing happens here with 77U and 77L. Just reduce that. So we see these are automatically blue, the counter guarantee information. And then I go back to the main part of the incoming guarantee. Why are those available? Because the code that came in with ISCO. Going to the top of the message. This is the key. So this is going to tell the receiver the message, the system receiving the message, that this is going to be both a counter and local standby guarantee combination. Okay, so information from sequence A and sequence C in this case are loaded to the main screen. Confirmation information, applicable rules, you see it looks fairly similar to the issuance screens. You have your date fields, you have your parties, information from sequence C. You can see local C information C. So again, it just means it's from the sequence C, because the main screen is your main risk that you're generating. You'll be issuing your local guarantee to your customer, to the beneficiary. So that information is loaded to the main screen. So this is part of when you're thinking about how you're going to do your processing. You may do it a certain way today, and maybe it's more manual because you have to make more decisions. But because of the way the messages are now designed, and the incoming Swift handles how those messages are, depending on how those messages are coming in, will automatically split the information across two sets of screens. Of course, the first one, like I said, if this was simply just a direct advising of a guarantee or a standby, you'd only have the one screen. Such as when if this came in as issue, you would not have access to the CG screen. Similar validations and behavior occur here in terms of mandatory and conditional fields. Sender receiver information is brought here. If you have to turn around and send another 760 out, you would use this here. This is the counter guarantee screen. And we indicate in our message everything's coming from sequence B. So throughout the message, just to make it easier to understand, these values are coming from sequence B, 15B, sequence B. The parties involved, the issuer of the local, beneficiary, obligor, instructing party, text, charges information, counter undertaking terms and conditions. Okay, so in this case, you would just be issuing your local guarantee to the beneficiary probably directly. Okay, so just to recap what we saw and what we're trying to convey for them as part of this webinar, you see that the issuance screens both at the outgoing and incoming side are very similar. There's two screens, a lot of new fields on both of those screens. An amendment has a lot of fields representing the local information and the counter information. The incoming guarantee amendment screen is virtually the same as the outgoing guarantee amendment screen in terms of being set up into two sections. We saw that the claim processing, the screen has been vastly changed in support of the guarantee messages. And from the outgoing and incoming correspondence, it's been a small change, nothing major. in terms of how we're displaying an additional field or set of fields to handle the field 23X, which is file ID information. Okay. Now we will go back to the presentation. And one thing, just to make it clear, although I didn't blatantly say it, the guarantee module originally did not have auto extension processing associated with it. We added it because, of course, banks that are going to be generating 760s need to be able to support standbys in the guarantee module, which means you need to be able to support auto extension. So just things to consider as part of your testing. If you're going to be using the guarantee module, you have to think about testing, implementing auto extension processing, and any advices you need. Okay. Okay. Now to wrap up this webinar, let's go to our final slide. Doug, if you want to go ahead.
Hi, yes, thank you, Frank. And first off, I just want to apologize for any background noise. I'm joining from the airport. But as with past upgrades, the extent to which you want to engage Surecomp and our services to support you is up to each individual bank to decide. And hopefully what you see in front of you on the screen is not new to you. I did provide this information to each of our customers. Basically you can decide which package is appropriate for you. So just to kind of run through them very quickly, the base package includes everything, all the SWIFT compliance and all the changes that Frank has gone over, but it is then up to the bank to implement the system, this upgrade on their own. And that means applying any kind of customizations, configurations, etc. And that will be the responsibility of the bank to do this and conduct the actual upgrade itself. The silver package is similar to the base package, and that is still up to the bank to, again, apply any kind of customizations, configurations, etc., and responsible for the upgrade. However, they will receive support from Surecomp during the UAT stage as well as the go live stage. And then the gold package, in that scenario, Surecomp will take responsibility for the full upgrade, basically. We will apply, again, the customizations, we will apply the configurations, we will install for you in your test environment. We'll actually provide you with samples of the Swift templates and provide you with support in UAT as well as go live. However, there's also the option of engaging us for templates. And I want to stress that this is something that is not to be underestimated. Not only are you going to be responsible for updating your Swift templates, but if you're going to be using the guarantees module, it's important that you actually have the templates you need to use it for standbys. And so what we would, if you were to engage Surecomp for this portion, we ask that you submit your templates to us via ticket and allow us to do an evaluation, because we expect that the extent of effort will vary from bank to bank, and then we can tell you how we can help you in that regard. So that was just sort of a brief summary of the service options, and if you have any questions, by all means, you can contact me separately. I'm happy to explain them to you. And that's about it from me.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much. Have a safe travels and good day, everyone. This is Irina. Speaking about base package, tomorrow, February 7, we do release IBSnet 6 Swift 2020 to the market. All of you will receive in the usual way of our communication to you via test tracker. Each of you will receive ticket with a link to SCFTP server website as usual with your credentials, username and password, and you will have ready to upload base package, which includes IBSnet 6 software and full documentation. Full documentation includes user guide, sysadmin guide, ISP, and release notes. And back to Frank.
Okay, everybody, I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar. We encourage you strongly to through emails or tickets to submit any questions you have on things that you need to know to help you better plan, to better scope what you think you need to do this year to become SWIFT 2020 compliant with IBSnet. And like I said, we will consolidate all the questions we receive into a single response, and which will be distributed to everybody. We will also be providing the recording of this particular webinar and the presentation slides as well in PDF format. So this way you have something to reference, and that may help you with adding or removing questions you may have. But if you're not, but if you have any questions, you're not sure, just go ahead and send it to us. We want you to be as fully informed as possible so you can make the best decision possible for this year. Okay, thank you everybody. And we will be seeing you virtually over the months ahead. Bye-bye.